Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining another AmTrust Title webinar series. Today's segment is sponsored by Stephen Napolitano, the Senior Executive Vice President of AmTrust Title. My name is Steve Cohen, and I will be your host for today. We understand there's a lot going on in today's world, and we're hoping for the next 30 to 40 minutes, we can take your mind off that and have some fun and celebrate Jay Horwitz's book with Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden. So please sit back and enjoy. Let me introduce you to today's panel. Before I get started, I do want to tell you, the two guys I'm going to introduce to you first. I'm lucky enough to call them friends. I've known them both for 30 years. You people might know the famous stuff they've done on the field and some of the things off the field, but until you realize how good of these they are as people and as friends, you couldn't ask for better friendships and better people to be with and be around all the time. I'm going to start with Darryl Strawberry. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Let me get my notes here. Darryl Strawberry played 17 seasons in the big leagues. He started out drafted first overall in the 1980 MLB draft by the New York Mets. In 1983, Straw goes on to hit 26 homers and captures the NL Rookie of the Year award. For the next 8 seasons, he makes the All-Star team. Straw then goes back home to LA as a free agent, as a member of the Dodgers for the 91, 92, 93 seasons. After a quick stint in San Francisco in 94, he moves on to the Yankees as an elder statesman, I'd say. It was a big part of 3 World Series with the Yankees, played with them from 95 to 99. To recap his amazing career, I'll put it like this. The guy played 8 All-Star games. He's a 4-time world champ. He's an NL Rookie of the Year. He's a 2-time Silver Slugger. He led the NL in homers in 1988, and the Mets have elected him to the New York Mets Hall of Fame in 2010. I'll give you a couple of fun facts about Darryl. He has appeared on The Apprentice with the President Donald Trump. He has been on the cover of Sports Illustrated 7 times, which is amazing. He has appeared on The Simpsons as himself in an episode, Homer at the Bat. He has appeared on the reality show, game show, Pros vs. Joes. Taught some people a lesson there. And in 2017, he was a guest on Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Now Straw is an ordained minister, and he's helping people all over the world. Darryl, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me with you guys today. Looking forward to being a part of this great day for Jay Horwitz.
All right. Where are you at, Darryl, today? What state you in?
I live in St. Louis, Missouri. As you can imagine, I live in the Cardinal country, where they hated the Mets and they thought we were a bunch of pond scums down here. But for some odd reason, I've been living here. My wife's from here, and this is home now, and it is actually a great place. I didn't realize how great it was because most of the time we just went in downtown. We never went around the city or anything like that, the outskirts of the city, the suburbs. So I live out in the suburbs of St. Louis, and it's a beautiful place, beautiful people.
Nice, very good. Let me move on to the next person we have here on the panel. His name is Dwight Gooden, affectionately known as Lord Charles, Dr. K, and finally Doc. Doc was also drafted by the Mets in the first round, which was the 5th overall in 1982. Then after 1 year in a minor league season where he punches out 300 batters in 191 innings, he makes his way to the big league in 1984 at the ripe old age of 19. Doc becomes the youngest player to appear in an All-Star game, where he is brought in relief in the 5th inning and quickly strikes out the side of Lance Parrish, Chet Lemon, and Alvin Davis. That's amazing, 19 years old. In that same season, 1984, Doc wins 17 games, the most by a 19-year-old since 1964. Doc led the league in strikeouts. His 276 Ks shatters the record of 245 by Herb Score in 1955. Dwight goes on to win the 1984 Rookie of the Year award 1 year after Straw does so. Somehow, though, Doc does finish second in the Cy Young voting to Rick Sutcliffe, even though Doc betted Sutcliffe in wins, strikeouts, innings pitched, and had a lower ERA than Sutcliffe. That's just his rookie season. Now we move on to 85, where Gooden absolutely dominates the National League. Listen to this. He leads the MLB with 24 wins, 268 strikeouts, and a minuscule ERA of 1.53. And he wins the 1985 Cy Young Award. In 1986, he moves on to the World Championship, helps the Mets win the World Championship, where he goes 17-6 with 200 strikeouts. Doc goes on to play for the Mets from 84 to 94. Then he goes cross town to the New York Yankees, where he wins 2 more World Series in 96 and 2000. Of course, in 96, we cannot forget, he goes on to throw a no-hitter on May 14th against the Seattle Mariners lineup that includes Alex Rodriguez, Ken Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, and Jay Buhner, just to mention some. Absolutely incredible. In 2000, Doc finishes his stellar career with the Yankees with another World Series title after a couple stops in Cleveland, Houston, and Tampa Bay. To sum up Doc's highlights, he's a 4-time All-Star, 3-time World Champion winner. He's a 1985 Cy Young Award winner, 1984 Rookie of the Year Award. 1992, he wins Silver Slugger for his hitting. 85, he leads MLB in wins in ERA. 84 and 85, he leads MLB in strikeouts. In 1996, he throws a no-hitter, which we just talked about. In 2010, he is also welcomed to the Met Hall of Fame with Darryl Strawberry. Doc, how you doing, buddy? Doc, you there?
Yes.
How you doing?
Well, I'm doing great. Everything is good. It's good to be on with you guys. 3 great friends. Looking forward to, talking about Jay and reminiscing on some great times.
Good. Where are you at these days?
I'm in Maryland right now. I have 2 of my young kids live here, so now I get to spend a lot of time with those guys. Obviously, when you plan, you miss out a lot on their school activities and what they're doing for their enjoyment. So now I just try to take advantage of that, spending time with my kids and my grandkids.
Well, good. Good to hear, bro. Now let's move on to our final panelist, who is the beloved and respected Jay Horwitz. Jay is not only a model, but he's also the vice president of alumni, public relations, and team historian for the New York Mets.
Did you say model?
Yeah, you guys let that go. That's Stanford.
That's a new one, a model.
Yeah.
Today we're going to celebrate Jay's top-selling book, which is Mr. Met. How a sports mad kid from Jersey became like family, the generation of big leaguers. Jay, let me tell you a little bit about Jay. He's received a degree in journalism from NYU, and he has also received his master's in history from NYU. Obviously, they were just giving out awards and degrees those years, I'm assuming. 1969 to 1972, Jay is the sports information director at NYU. 1972 to 1980, he becomes a sports information director at Fairleigh Dickinson University. In 1980, he interviews with the first of his 13 general managers he goes to work for, which is Frank Hatchen, and lands a job as director of public relations, which he holds on to for the next 40 years. Yes, 40 years, which is an absolute 300 years in baseball. Some highlights in Jay's career. From 1980 to 2011, he works every All-Star game and every World Series for Major League Baseball as a public relations representative. In 1998, he is awarded the official award as top media relations persons in baseball. In 2019, he is awarded the William J. Slocum and Jack Lang Award for long and meritorious service. In addition to serving under 13 general managers, he goes on to work for 14 Met managers, starting with Joe Torre and ending with Mickey Callaway. A couple more Jay Horwitz highlights. His book spends a month on the top of the Amazon best-selling list. He is, it's so good that Jacob deGrom writes the foreword for his book. Jay is currently the link between Met greats from Ed Kranepool, Ron Swoboda, this links to time. Ron Swoboda, Tom Seaver, Bud Harrelson, Dave Kingman, Lee Mazzilli, Mookie Wilson, Darryl Strawberry, Doc Gooden, Edgardo Alfonso, Al Leiter, David Wright, and Jacob deGrom. I mean, all these guys he goes on to work with, and everyone calls him, and that just shows you how much respect and love everyone has for Jay. Jay, as we're here talking about your book today, once again, which is right here, you talk pretty candidly about your tough childhood. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I was born with glaucoma in my right eye. My mother, carried me. She had German measles. Was blind in my right eye. Had one blue eye, one green eye. was always embarrassed to tell people about that. When I was in 6th grade, the doctor said to me, if you don't have an operation, take out the eye, you could be totally blind. So I took out the eye, and since I was about 13, I had a glass eye in my right eye. I had a glass right eye. Whatever, I couldn't see out of my right eye. Let's break that down.
Now, do you have anything wrong with your mouth?
So I was always embarrassed to tell people about it. So you know what? I'm going to be 75 years old in August. My days of modeling are over with. Want to make a message out to the younger kids. Hey, you don't have to be born perfectly. You can make something of yourself. So I just want to let people know, if you're born with a little disability, stick to it. You can make something of your career. That was one of the messages from my book.
Outstanding. That's great. Straw, when you first came up, you're a kid coming. I mean, how old were you when you first came up?
I was 21 when I first came up.
You're 21, you're in New York, and now I guess Jay is really your link to everybody, right?
Right. Thank you, Jay. Thank you for who you are and all that you've done for so many players. We just love you because you always been professional and you always loved and cared for us. And that's really what was important. I think most people don't understand the position you are holding was so important, especially in my time coming up when I was 21 and the team was so bad. And I just remember that 1983 of being with you in spring training, and then I had to go down after having a good spring training. And guess who was there when I first came to the big leagues? The great Jay Horwitz. He was always there to make sure that the media didn't kill you, and he protected you from that. And that was very special, and especially playing in New York. I think me and Doc Gooden was the first two young, actually really superstars coming to the big leagues with so much attention focused around us. And Jay did a phenomenal job of helping us through that process. And we needed that. I mean, I needed it more than anything, especially being an everyday player. And when Doc came up a year behind me, I think Jay learned so much about it, with me being there that year in 83 and the media just all over me all the time about question after question. And Jay would have to pull him off me and say, that's enough. That's a break. You need a break. He's a young guy and he's got a lot going on, because I struggled when I first came up. It wasn't like I walked in there and I was just fire. I mean, I struggled through that process, and to be able to have that, I think helped me in such a way to grow and learn how to be able to deal with the media in New York, because it's different when you play in New York like anywhere else. When you walk in the clubhouse, you got 30 guys, reporters in your clubhouse every day. You go on the road, you may have 2 guys when you get into the clubhouse. So I'm truly grateful, that Jay, his book has come out and he has helped so many. Yeah, he is Mr. Met with the bobblehead. They should have had a bobblehead doll off him. Because there's Jay. Here he comes. You can see him coming. But he's the most fun person I've ever been around. As far as around baseball and helping players in baseball. And I'm quite sure through his book, when someone picks it up and read it, you're going to realize that this man here has played a part in so many of the Met players that walk through that clubhouse, and he's helped so many of us.
That's great to hear. Really is amazing. I've heard that from so many players in so many different eras that Jay's been involved with, that the affection and the respect they have for him and the way he helped them and went about it was unbelievable. Doc, how about you?
For me, Darryl pretty much said it. He made my job so much easier when I came to the big leagues as a 19-year-old. Right away, Jay was right there, always, making sure I was comfortable, always talked to me before I met with the media. It put me in the best situation to handle the media because it was all new, only a year and a half out of high school. And more than that, just being able to talk to Jay anytime. Like when my parents came up, he always made sure they was comfortable, always made sure they had a hotel. I remember in 1987 when I got married, Jay came down on his own, helped deal with the media there at the wedding, and just helped out on his own. That's the type of guy.
You got married?
That's the type of guy he was. And the thing about it, even in 87 when I came out of Smithers, Jay was right there. And I remember going to Jay's house, me, Jay, Mel, and Dr. Lance, and we never talked about baseball. We just talked about life and ways that he could help. He was just always there as a true friend, and those type of things that you cherish, because when you're playing baseball and you're doing well, obviously everybody will love you. Jay's always been there no matter what. Always put me in the best situation, always took care of my parents or my family when they came up. We always stayed in contact, and it just means a lot to, for me to be able to call Jay a friend even today. And like Carl said, the things he's done, there's always the guys behind the scenes that made our job a lot easier that goes untold and unheard. And he's always took care of guys. Never seen Jay get mad. Only time I've seen Jay get upset is he felt that one of the press guys was trying to take advantage of a player. He'll always step in and protect you. But just a real-class guy. And I truly believe this here, too. And I'm not just saying it's got Jay on there. But they should come up with an award to name after Jay. The same way they do with the Cy Young and Rookie of the Year. They should come up with a reward for the best PR guys of that year, named after Jay. That's just what he meant, not only to the Mets, but just to baseball.
Thanks, guy.
Yeah.
Jay, how does that make you feel hearing that from two greats?
Well, you know what? I mean, Buffalo, these guys are friends, and we, all three of us, you too, Stevie. I mean, a lot of all the dinners we had. But above all else, they're friends. And, you understand, like when Darryl came up in '83, we were a terrible team, an awful team. Darryl came up #1 pick in the country, called the Black Ted Williams, cover Sports Illustrated. There was nobody there to protect him. And he went through a whole lot. He battled through, got the Rookie of the Year, 26 home runs. And when Doc came up the year before, the year after, excuse me, getting my age to forget things. He strikes out 300 batters in Lindbergh the year before, and so much pressure. These guys went on to have, great seasons with the Mets, led us to a championship. But to play in New York is just so hard. And you know what? What makes me proud? These guys are really good people today. They both do good work in the community. Darryl and his wife are ministers. Dwight does a lot of good work in hospitals and high schools. And really proud to have them and my friends. And, like you said, we've been through a lot. And all the stuff we've been through on the field, off the field, they never run. They've never hid for anything. And that's why, they're so beloved in the city, because they're really just honestly good people. And I'm really proud to have all three of you guys on the thing here as my friends.
Very nice. Jay, question for you. Have you heard from any players that read the book and reached out to you that you haven't heard from in quite a while?
Yeah, there was Dyer Miller called me. I don't know if you guys remember him. Dyer Miller was a relief pitcher in 1980. His claim to fame, Stevie, he was undefeated in cow milking contest. He was 4-0 in cow milking contest in 1980, and he heard about the book. He said to me, "Why did you write a book?" And he was just kidding. Dyer was a good friend, but I hear periodically from guys. Rico Bronia called me. It was really nice to hear. And when I wrote this book, I didn't want to hurt anybody. It was going to be a feel-good book, not a tell-all book, not what goes on in the clubhouse or who did what or whatever. So it's just all good things. That's what I tried to do.
The book might be a tell-all. The first 17 chapters are the top.
I love that. Hey, you know what? I love that about Jay, because Jay has all the incredible stories to tell about anybody. He saw everything. He knows everything. And he's never said anything about anyone's life. Jay has always loved people. He's always loved me and Doc. He's always cared about us. I think he cared about us more than you can ever imagine, because I think we were the first two to really come up in the franchise, to really start turning the franchise around, with other players, of course, but we were the young players. Myself, I was young, 21 and 22 years old, and Doc came up 19. And I think Jay really never realized how much he had to do to deal with the media to keep them away from us, because we were young, and I don't think any other young players have ever come up with that kind of expectation and pressure like we did after having one good season and winning Rookie of the Year. We go back-to-back Rookie of the Year, and there we are in the midst of every year, the performance that we have to come up with and the media that we have to deal with. And Jay was always the one. He's never done a tell-all, because there were some crazy times in our clubhouse. There were some crazy times in our spring training, we just had a lot of crazy things going on. But Jay saw all the crazy things. I remember how funny it was that time we was leaving spring training and the team was leaving, and Cashin had to send, I don't know, Jay or Charlie, somebody to come get me. I was still stuck in there, and I was in there with a girl. It was so crazy, getting my last bid in, leaving spring training, you know. Go ahead, Doc.
Hey, hold on. You think you kept Jay busy on the field or off the field with work?
He kept the off the field. He kept the off the field stuff out of the book, you know, and he always kept the off the field stuff that he knew about and never said anything about it. I mean, what a classy person that just says who Jay really is. That says a lot about his character, and I'm as I sit here, we're older today. I appreciate that, you know, because he could have said a lot of things about, you know, saw with me, saw Doc and other people. He never did.
You know what I remember most off the field? Our dinners at Ron's in Japan in Chicago. You guys used to order lobster tails for appetizers. The only problem back, on the walk back from the restaurant, we always had to really run back to get to the hotel.
That was Doc. That was Doc, man. Doc ate all that food.
That's the thing that I like about Jay, because a lot of times you play with different organizations and the front office guys always hang out with the front office guys. But Jay, he never did that. He'd go out on the road, hang out with the players, we'd go out to eat, like you mentioned. And we had to do his work. He's with the front office guys. And we just had a good time. I mean, he was right there. And when he had to get serious, he would get serious.
I never wanted to be a suit. You know, I always wanted to be part of the locker room, let the guys know they could trust me, never tell any tales. You know, I just felt it was important for a PR guy to get it in New York is the players got to believe me. They can't let you know you have to have their trust. And once you betray that trust, once you're a dead man, you know what? I was probably closer to the 86 team more than the Anderson team because, you know, my age, I was 34, so I was about 40. And it was such a bonding, a lot of different personalities on the team. It was just a crazy year. Remember when Mike Tyson came down to spar with you guys? We got the fist fights in Cincinnati. I can't even speak about it. The other teams in the league absolutely hated us.
Jay, you're so right, man. I mean, that '86 team was a group of personalities, and that was a funny thing about it, Stevie, is Jay really, I mean, he really handled that group of guys. You know, that group of guys loved him. We trusted him, and we leaned on him. You know, Artie was the travel secretary, but you know, nobody leaned on him. Everybody leaned on Jay, you know, and when we got into some trouble, you know, like Jay said, everybody hated us. We were a fighting team. We were fighting in bars and stuff. And you know, when our boys got in trouble, Jay would come to the ballpark the next day. You know, you could see his head. He was like sad. He was like, straw to straw. I just don't know what we're going to do, you know. It was tough. It was a tough job for him to keep up with that group of guys.
Remember one particular birthday party for one of our players in Houston? Some of the guys got arrested, and they had to go to court the next day. I remember my poor Aunt Clara saw me walking up the court steps in Houston. She called me, Jay, did you get arrested? What did you do now? And I said, no, this one time it wasn't me. I'm just taking care of my sons.
You know, the funny about that thing in Houston, I remember you said, I guess Frank Caston called to say, how's Dr. Darryl? We wasn't even there. It just assumed that me and Straw were there. He's like, Dr. Darryl, okay? How's Dr. Darryl? He wasn't even there. I mean,
I know.
The only thing I couldn't understand is, maybe you could tell us. I just want to ask you this right now. I tell them, like, every time we went on the road, every time you came to the ballpark, you came back with a dog bit you. You got bit by a dog in every city that we went to. That's one thing I couldn't understand.
One time, I was jogging across the bridges in Pittsburgh, and I was in my pants, and a dog bit my jogging pants, and I had to go to the hospital to get rabies shots. And that night, Bob Murphy, the late Bob Murphy, interviewed me on radio, and he said, Jay, I heard you had a little problem was running today. I said, well, Bob, it was okay. I was Jewish, and the dog was German. And that night, Frank got a hold of me in the press box. Jay, what the hell are you doing? And you can't say that on radio. Poor Murphy was ready to die.
Yeah, but what about your birthday party? Tell them a little bit about your birthday party. What the team did for you and that birthday, Franco and them.
Okay, we're in Chicago. We're in Chicago, and they shut the locker room, and the boys wanted to give me a nice present, so they got a nice exotic dancer, and he tied me up in the middle of the locker room, and they were kind of kind of gave me a hug a couple of times. And
You
then
know him.
what?
You know him
I couldn't. She gave me a hug.
Gave him a hug.
He gave me a hug. And then about the fourth or fifth inning, I started to break out in sweats. And Steve, I don't feel good. So they took me to Northwestern Hospital. I was the oldest patient ever to get chickenpox. I was confined there for 10 days. And Artie used to send me steaks over from the restaurants there. But that was kind of an unusual birthday. It wasn't a cake. That all fit in with our team now.
It was a dancer, man. It was a stripper. She gave him the chicken pox. You know.
Yeah. I don't know how that works. I never got my medical degree. So I don't know how that works. But
that's a tough birthday, Jay.
Yeah, it was a tough. But we had a little good times together, guys. It was all fun, and all the different personalities. I remember, Doc, your first game in Houston. I remember you walked to the ballpark and you couldn't get in. You had to call the locker room to get you in. Well, I'm the starting guy, and either Steve or I had to come up and get you, let you in the park. But
I remember that. I remember that. I was so nervous, and my parents were there. I had lunch with my parents earlier that day, and I walked to the park, and you and Steve Garland came to get me. I actually climbed across the 8-foot fence, and security guards got me.
Yeah. Hey, I got into trouble one time because of you. You don't probably even know it. And Chuck Hiller would manage you in Kingsport. Great guy, old-time baseball support. So your first game, I forget who you really played. I worked out with the PR guy there. Every person who got into the park with a strawberry got in for nothing. And Chuck was not really happy with that. What do you do to the guy? Let him play ball, but Chuck was a good guy.
I remember that. That was, I think that we were playing the Painesville Yankees, I think, at the time.
Right.
Yeah, and they had something like that. But so we've had some great runs with Jay Horwitz as the PR guy. What a guy to have on your side, though, more than anything, because not only for us as a team, but I think about all the All-Star games Jay went to with us, and he was representing us too at the All-Star games and different things, and then us getting in the playoffs and the World Series, and because we needed that particular person, to help us and guide us through, because of the way our team was. Like Jay said, we were a different breed of guys. I think our clubhouse was Animal House, and when you head back to the back of the plane, you had the scum bunch, and you just had all kind of personalities on the team. You had Lil Wetness, you had Mr. Freeze, you had Lil Wetness, yeah, Lenny, yeah. So you had a lot of personality. You had a lot of talkers, So Jay used to always. Some article would come up in the paper about somebody saying something about another player, and I remember I said that when Lil Wetness, I called him Lil Wetness, and I said if you keep running his mouth, I'm gonna break his face.
But how do people get understand about these two guys when they came up in '83? The Mets were in '83 and '84. The Mets were a bad team. We had been in the playoffs for 10 years in the World Series. And for the young guys to come up and play this market, perform as they did, it's really a credit to their abilities. And it wasn't Kansas City, it wasn't Detroit, it wasn't Seattle. It was making it in New York under a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations, and we really took over the town from '84 really to '90. We were first and second in every time the wild card was alive then. We would have been in the playoffs every year, but and it's really a credit to their ability to what they did to perform like they did and what they've accomplished in that time. And like you said, put all the records aside. They really are good people. They're doing a lot for the community, giving back in different ways. And that's more important than any records, any awards, or any honors, or any championship. The way these guys turned out, and I'm really proud, Steve, to be their friends. And I'm really honored to be on this broadcast with them.
Okay.
Jay, let me ask you something else about your book. And you dedicate a chapter to Shannon Ford. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what made Shannon so special? We know it.
Yeah,
let everyone else.
All three guys on here really played a part. Shannon, I think Doc and Darryl were great with Shannon. She came down with breast cancer in 2011. She never stopped working, never quit. When the cancer spread all over her body, she willed herself to the World Series in 2015, and when she passed away in March 4th, 2016, 9 major league teams held a moment of silence for her. MLB helped build a ballpark for her in Little Ferry. It's Shannon Dortmund Field, so it's a really great legacy. She was able to breach the ownership, the players, the media. They all loved her. And Stevie, every time we held a charity thing for her, you with your companies always there, giving equipment and bats, always supported her. And I remember Dak and Darryl, you were both at the affair for her and all the fundraising we did for her. And, she was a special kind of person. She never said no to anybody. And, one of the reasons why I want to have a chapter, she died when she was 44 years old, 2 young kids. We know when people die, people forget, and I just didn't want to let people forget about her. And that's why they thank all 3 guys for what they did for her when she was alive and to help keep her memory alive.
That's awesome. Shannon she was great, and she's definitely missed by all of us. I know it's a big loss to you. We are very sorry for you.
Yeah, I know both of
Let me ask you, what was the 9/11 game like?
9/11 was great. It was crazy. Winning in '86 was great. I loved it, but there was something special about 9/11 that we helped give back to New York. We helped New York heal. We had with Bobby Valentine, Al Leiter, Johnny Franco, who you guys know, Ramen Batur, Todd Zeal. We went to visit countless firehouses, police stations. Shea Stadium turned into a recovery area. And when Mike hit the home run, we made people smile for the first time in a long time. And, it was, our organization's really, the Will Pond's on down. Darryl did a lot of work with kids, still does. Doc did a lot of work with kids. And, one thing about the Mets, we always wanted to give back, to the community, to the people out there. And especially during that time, we really, gave back to the community. Was really proud to be a part of that team.
Yeah. Jay, let's move on to something a little more lighter. Can you tell us a little bit about the Doug Flynn press conference at the Country Bar?
That almost got me fired. Among many other things that almost got me fired. Doug Flynn signed a 5-year contract with the Mets in 1980. He was a second baseman. He sang with the Oak Ridge Boys and Loretta Lynn Band. So I came up with this thing, let's have a press conference at a bar in the city, Country Western Bar. I convinced Frank Cashin to go down there. We signed a contract. Frank put on a cowboy hat. And just as he signed the contract, the hat came down over his head, and he looked like Elmer Fudd. It was all over the papers the next day. His hat was over his head, and Jay, this is not a really becoming picture of me, Frank. He said, well, I'm sorry, but that's, that was one of the, and I think they traded Doug the next year. So I think they traded him because of the press conference.
That's funny. Hey, Jay, you worked for 7 of the 13 GMs in Met history. Was there one you were particularly close with?
Well, I don't want to say anything bad about anything, but the guy, who probably I worked with, Steve Phillips is a young guy when he came in, and I had a lot of good back and forth with him, but Frank deserves a lot of credit for what he built in '86. With the draft, and Joe McAvey became a GM, and he drafted Doc in '83, and and Darryl in 1980. And before I got, I wanted to say something about, I got to know that both families great, but I remember, Darryl's mom, Ruby, died at a much early age. And I remember meeting her and Darryl, and after we drafted him, we were in Dodger Stadium, and we had a nice talk there, and we had a lot of times we used to go to Doc's house and happen to see mom and dad. And I try to get close with the with the players. One thing, you guys are like family to me. We're not players. It was never PR guy, player. It was always friend to friend, and that's how I try to treat my relationship through the years.
Yeah, no, Jay, I mean, that's what made you so successful at your job, though. But hey, Doc, Straw, listen to this. We were at a basketball game one time, and it was me, Jay, and somebody else, and we sat behind Dick Vitale. We could see ourselves on the monitor, and I go, and I put my finger in Jay's ear, and Jay would do this. Jay got a call from Steve Phillips and said, "Hey, tell Steve Cohen to stop licking your ear on TV."
Well, you was always good for finding the cameras, little Stevie. We know that for sure.
Still doing
wherever you are, you always find the camera.
We should go to those basketball games in the winter, Stevie.
Those are great, weren't they, Jay?
Yeah, we had good time. Good time.
Yeah. And then the Super Bowl we went to, which we talked about last time, where you yelled at that little kid for wearing a Ravens jersey.
Yeah, you guys, I'm a big diehard Giant fan, guys. So we're eating dinner at a Don Shula's restaurant, and somebody was making fun of LT, who was my favorite guy. And I said to him, well, at least my guy didn't kill anybody,
Oh my. Jay. Wow.
We always got to a big brawl in Don Shula's steakhouse,
Sure. The kid was 6 years old. It wasn't another grown man. Jay was young.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard Jay say anything like that.
No, he was talking about LT, Strauss, and nobody can say anything, about bad LT. But I mean, I tell you what, I mean, don't you think Davey was the right guy to be the manager in '86? I mean, you remember the speech he gave? I think in spring training, we're not going to win, but we're going to dominate. And we started the season 2-3, and I think we lost 51 games the rest of the year. I mean, what do you think made? What do you guys think made us that kind of a special team?
Go ahead, Doc.
I think for me, what made us a special team was, like you said, in spring training, and it kind of goes like with you, Jay, with your job. You're dealing with all the different personalities, and same with Davey, dealing with all the personalities and bringing us together. We had a lot of different personalities on the team, but a lot of our guys was tough, mentally tough. Playing in New York, you got to be mentally strong. We all pulled for one another. We all cared about each other. If somebody screwed up, we got on each other. But the thing about it, especially me being a pitcher, we knew that each other had each other's back. If something was going to go down, all of us were going down together. We hung out together on the road, went to eat together, we hit the town together. Just a real close-knit team. And plus, we had a lot of players that could have been starters on other teams that, put their pride aside and just had one common goal to win the championship. But it all started at the top. Started with Davey, right there, cashing, and then you, Jay, and not just say it's a blow smoke, but you made our job so easier. But the main thing, all of us had one common goal together. We just had a bunch of guys. They say crazy guys, but we also had a lot of baseball knowledge that people don't talk about.
Right, and that's so true. That's so good, Doc, because that's who we really were as a team. We were the team that year in '86, coming out of spring training, and we came together in spring training. Like you said, Jay, we started off, and then we only ended up losing like 50-something games after that, But I just think spring training that year, after coming short in 84 and 85, 84 to the Cubs and 85 to the Cardinals. And I think we got into spring training that year, and Davey just announced to us that we wasn't just going to win, we was going to dominate. And we looked around at each other and we thought, yeah, this is our year. We had all the pieces there. And I think what was so important about us is we played together. And Davey was a great leader for us because he was a player manager. He wasn't just a manager. He played the game and he understood the personalities of players. He was real good at that. And when you have a manager that understands that with the personalities that we have, you're going to have some conflicts, but all at the same time, he knew how to keep us together and keep us on the same page as a group. And I think a lot of times you don't see that with many managers today, where players don't trust their manager. One thing about us, we could trust him because we knew he wasn't going to throw us under the bus to the media. And we knew that Jay had control of the media, and we knew that we were a solid foundation all together. And I think that's really what brought us to another level of playing and just allowed us to go out there and play. Because, Jay, you, like Doc said, you really controlled the outside of the media, trying to hover over us when we were trying to play. And our season went so well because after we got off to just a 2-3 start, we just came back as gangbusters and we never looked back. And I just remember that series we went in to play the Cardinals and we swept them, and it was early in the year, and Whitey said they're gonna win it all. They just too good. And you never, when you hear a guy like Whitey Herzog say that about your team, you know you're in the right place, and we knew we was in the right place to win that year.
You know, I think David was never afraid to take a chance on the young guys. Played you guys right away. I remember, Doc, you were in '84. There was a lot from the front office. A lot of people in the front office didn't want to send you back down to the minor league. I was in the office that day in St. Petersburg when he called you in. You didn't even know the last days we training had made the team, and he said you had to go back home and get your clothes for the trip back, to leave. You know, with you or Ronnie or Wally or Lenny, he was never afraid to take a chance on playing the younger guys. And I think that was a big, he had everybody's back, and he was he didn't really need to manage. He was a successful real estate guy. He was a pilot. He got his mathematics degree from Texas A&M. He was just the right guy at the right time to lead us, and for great, probably the best run in Mets history. That's 6 years, when he was a manager there.
Hey, sure. We do have a question for you from a Brett Topol. I hope I said his name right. He wanted to ask you about the home run you hit off the roof in Montreal against St. Clair.
Well, yeah, that was opening day, and I think we hit 4 or 5 home runs that day, if I can remember. I mean, I know I hit 2 that. I believe I hit 2 that day, if I can remember. I'm not sure. No, I don't sure. I think I did hit 2 that day, opening day, and St. Clair just happened to throw a fastball in, and I just happened to clobber it, And I'm looking up and seeing where the ball is going, and then I look at the umpire, and I think it was Dutch. He was out there, and he was just looking up, and he looking at me and going like, I don't know what to do. I was like, well, what am I doing? I kind of slowed down running the bases. I kind of hesitated a little bit, and then he looked up again, and he looked down, and then he said a home run, and that was a great opening day for us, that year too, with the kind of ball club we had. So yeah, just a memory that always will stick with me. But I think the ball I hit off the clock in St. Louis, I'll remember more because
Ken Daly.
Yes, Ken Daly. That was a 1-0 ball game, and that was a great pitch ball game. Yeah, Darryl pitched a great game that game, and we almost came back and won that division, but the Cardinals ended up beating us that year in '85.
Right.
Yeah, I think you won the next day, didn't you, Doc?
The home run off Ken Daly was probably the biggest home run at that time, but the one you hit off St. Clair opening day, that was the first ball I've ever seen. I mean, if the roof would have been open, that ball would definitely been out of the stadium. That ball was crushed.
Yeah, that ball was. It was. He threw a fastball in. I just dropped some head on it and say, "Take this one."
Yeah.
Hey, Doc, let me ask
you know what I loved about Montreal? They had this library there. Chez Paris. A lot of good French books.
I've never been here.
No, I heard about it.
Tell us about that place, Chez Paris. What is that
like? A lot of good books.
Hey, last seminar, Jay told us that's where Joe Torre took him to buy suits.
A lot of deep in Montreal history. I used to go on St. Catherine with Mel Stoudemire. Mel loved ice cream. Great ice cream place on there. We used to love it. It was missed by Shanks. I really miss Mel. Good friend, died way too young. He's a good man.
Yeah, Mel was great.
Hey, Doc, gotta ask you. 19 years old. If I look back to see what I was doing at 19, you're in the All-Star game. What is that like? Like, tell us a little bit. What is it like as a 19-year-old? I can imagine it's like as a 35-year-old, but as a 19-year-old kid coming to an All-Star game and then strike up the side. And I think you did it in inning after Valenzuela struck out 3. Is that correct?
Yes, you're right. I was very nervous that day going to the game. Even when I found out I made the All-Star team, I was very excited. Being a year and a half out of high school, that's like a dream come true. Obviously, with my teammates, with Darryl, and keep them there. But then been in the same clubhouse with Nolan Ryan, who was my childhood idol, talking with Nolan, and then going to these guys. I remember warming up in the bullpen. Obviously, you want to play, but you didn't even care if you got in the game or not. I was just so happy to get there. Couldn't wait to get back to the hotel to call my friends and tell them, who all I met and spend time with. Getting into that game, and I remember Gary Carter coming to the mound, and he knew I was nervous. I mean, I was sweating bullets. You know how I sweat. And he said, just relax and throw the ball the way you did the first half of the season. Straight out the 3 guys, I think it was Chet Lemon, Alvin Davis, and Lance Parrish. And after that, Carter said, wouldn't it be nice to do every 5th day? Not knowing that we was going to trade for him that December. But to do that at that age and have my father in the stands was just I mean, it was a humbling experience and something that was great. And one of the highlights of my career from a personal standpoint to do it at that age, because I started off kind of slow that year and then to make the All-Star team and just been in the same clubhouse with some of the great guys in the game was very special.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Dr. Stevie was 19. He was still drinking a bottle.
During Coke 45.
Hey,
tell about the first time I came to your house.
No way, not on this venue. Hey, Jay, let me ask you this. I'm going to change that subject quickly. Tell us a little bit about the Sid Finch Sports Illustrated story. That's a little.
Yeah, we had. This was in the winter of spring trade '85. Mark Mulvoy was the director of Sports Illustrated. George Plimpton called Frank Cash and he said, "We want to do a practical joke that the Mets signed a 6'7" right-hander from some foreign country threw $190 million fastball." And the thing is, it was going to be on the April Fool's edition. When people didn't forget that the first paragraph of the story read, "This is an April Fool's joke," and nobody picked up on it. So that spring, we had Sid, who was actually a school teacher from Chicago. We had a tent in the old Huggins Stengel field. He threw there. He came out. You guys remember Ron Reynolds, one of our catchers at that time?
Yeah.
He burnt the hole in his glove. So we had Mel Stottlemyre and Ron Reynolds address the media and say, "Guys, this was Sid's curveball." And we kept it going for a day or two. Finally, it leaked out. It was a joke. It was an April Fool's joke. You never could do that today in the age of Twitter or TikTok, whatever, all these things I don't know anything about. But we just, it was a harmless joke. And people just never picked up on the fact and said, the opening paragraph of that story was, "This is an April Fool's joke." And I don't know if you guys remember him in the locker. He was a tall, gangly guy, and he dressed next to George Foster, if I remember. And he came on the field, and it was a school team. It was a great. I love that kind of stuff. I actually love that kind of stuff.
That was funny. That was funny, Jay. But I want to ask you a question, Jay. I want to say, why do you think our team? Why do you think the '80s, had so much notoriety around our team? Was it just because? I mean, you were there. You had to be there to support us through all that. Everybody wanted us, and it's so many different things. Why do you think that was like that?
Because of the personalities of the team, no doubt in my mind. We had Ron Darling comes from Yale. We had Gary Carter, the professional catcher, who it was so many with Wally and Lenny. Actually, nobody knew what any of you guys were going to say with a locker room door or something. Nobody knew what anybody was going to say. And the thing was, you guys never hid. With no one-word answers. Like, we always told the truth. You never would think. Not Dwight, not to bring up a bad point in baseball. In the '86 playoff, in the '86 World Series, you didn't have two great starts in Boston, but never did you run. We went down to I remember I said, "Dwight, we got to walk down to the far end of the field to talk to me, whatever you need, Jake." 40, 45 minutes. I didn't have my best stuff, but you stood there. And Darryl, the day you struck out, the day stuff happened, you never ran. You never hit the training room. The press loved you because they knew the stories were going to be there. And at that time, the fans were starving for winners in New York. We had, it was almost a decade period. And I always maintained the Mets are the people's team. And you guys were the people's players. They could identify. You never hid, never afraid of saying anything. And we had a lot of back page headlines. But I think the fact that we had so many different personalities on the team. And Davey was not afraid to say anything. I mean, Davey was not afraid to say anything. He would call out anybody. He would get in fights with other players on the field, stick up for you guys, but he never held back. And it was just a mixture. We had one for a while, and just the diversity of the personalities on the team that people could identify with different parts of the team. Little guys, Wally and Lenny. And the pitchers and you and who gets lost in the shuffle? Bobby O added a lot when he came up on 18 games. It's tough. Yeah. And Ray Knight and Lenton. One thing before I forget, who sometimes gets lost in the shovel is Kevin Mitchell. You know,
Right.
as a young guy, he played 6 different positions down here. Played shortstop and world, and he was a big part of the team. You know, and he was only with us really for 1 year. You know, he played 7 games the year before, but we just everything kind of diverged together, and and Kevin Elster came up at the end of the year. So it was just a divergent of personality. It was a great mix, and and poor, we got to see a word about Uncle Bill at first base, who Roger and Hojo. We used to give him a hot foot every other day. And Bill always felt guilty to those hot foots. They always done.
Was that your greatest run with the Mets organization that you had from that 84 to that 90 year?
No question. Yeah, it was. We were in contention. National writers came around all the time. We won a lot of games, average about 90 wins a year, and it was just a great play. But I just enjoyed the guys a lot because I was younger. I was, not that I just came here, and you guys really took me under your wing. You made me feel part of the team, and I lived and died with every strike, every loss. And we won that year. Remember coming back from 2 strikes, 2 outs, 2 runs in the bottom of 16, and we losing the next day, come back and win. It's something, a memory I'll always treasure.
Well, did you write about it in your book? Did you tell some of the fans about the ride home from Houston after we won in Houston, the airplane ride?
I left that out a little bit, but let me say what you bring it back, Davey. This is the typical why everybody loved Davey. We had a tough series, 16 innings, almost lost it. They tied it and won in the 16th. They came back. So there was a little activity on the plane. Some of the people were a little active on the plane, and the airlines presented a bill to Davey for 5 figures. Your team has to pay the bill. If I remember correctly, Davey ripped up the bill, and he said, "What you guys went through, nobody charged anybody anything, and I don't think we paid the bill." And that's typical, right? It was typical Davey was about, and he had the attitude. He had a lot of, he had a lot of bravado about him. I think it was his team. You guys were the perfect team for him, and he was a perfect team for you guys. So that was some play right home. I read that time. I slept.
Well, I think Frank Cashin wanted us to drink milk, and we wasn't milk drinkers at that time.
No,
not at all.
No.
Maybe Doc was drinking milk at that time, but that's.
I think Jay was at Shea Paris.
Yeah, I love the book. You should go there. They have a great encyclopedia here.
Where, Shea Paris?
Yeah, great. What time I went to the library with Vern Hosha. Remember old Vern?
Oh yeah.
Vern wanted to read a particular book. Yeah, so I took Vern to this library to read a particular book. We stayed there for about 4 hours. Vern was a slow reader.
Hey, Jay, I'm going to ask you, we got to start wrapping this up, but before we go, I want to ask you about one thing. Can you tell us one quick story about the car ride you had with George Bamberger?
Yeah, before I forget, I wrote one thing. I want my eternal thanks to everybody in the call, especially Steve Napolitano. He's a good friend, making this possible. And Steve was a big contributor to Shannon's Charities. I didn't want to forget that. So this was and we hired George in like 82, after Joe Torre got fired. He was in Chase standing by himself. He calls my office and said, "Jay, I think I'm having a heart attack. Can you drive me to the hospital?" I said, "George, I'm not a really good driver." So I went down. He was kind of sweating. So we got in the car. It was snowing. He leaned out the window. I ran over my glasses. So on the way to the hospital, I had my head out the door, trying to see, and everybody knows my eyesight's not great. So somehow we made it to the hospital. He had a stomach ache. It wasn't a heart attack. And George said, "I'm never ever." He took a cab back from the hospital. I had to drive myself.
That's great. Oh man. That's good.
Listen, I just want to say, Darryl, Doc, love you guys. Thank you guys so much for coming on today. I know Steve Napolitano, Amtrust Title, Jay, myself, and Wall, happy that you guys could join us and you took the time out to do it. It means a lot to all of us.
Yeah, it means a lot to me. We're all 3 guys. Good friends, man. Good friends.
Oh, Dad, it's a pleasure. It's always good seeing you guys. And Jay's
Thanks
book
for your
is
time,
awesome.
everybody.
And
Love
I
you guys,
also want to add that Jay's book is for sale. We have 100 copies autographed by Jay. If they contact Anuska at Trust Title, she will help sell the books to you with the autograph from Jay. So we have 100 of those. If people that are listening want to buy them, they can go there. Or Jay, where else is it available?
Oh, in front of my house. I got a stand.
No, I just want to say for Jay book, go ahead, Jay.
Barnes and Nobles and Amazon.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I just want to say for Jay, for all those true Met fans out there that really want to know the history of the Mets, go pick up this book because Jay is the history of the New York Mets. With the stories and the players and the relationships. His relationship is real. I don't know how many public relationship guys have a relationship like Jay has had with players, and we're still here and we're still friends, and that's incredible. We go back a long time.
Long time. Proud to be your friends, everybody on this call.
Yeah.
Well, I would say on behalf of Trust Title and Senior Executive Vice President of Trust Title, Stephen Napolitano, thank everybody for joining in today, and we especially thank Darryl Strawberry, Dwight Gooden, and the beloved Jay Horwitz for today's
guys.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Steve and Steve. Love you guys.
Love
Love you, Doc. Jay.
Love you too, buddy. All right, guys.
All right. See you later, little mullion, Stevie.
Bye, guys.